When we start playing Go, very often we play using Japanese rules, and then we explain something using Japanese terms, and we study from Japanese books, and we talk about Japanese professionals. Now, why is that? The game was invented in China. Let's find out how this happened. The game of Go really originated in China some 4 or maybe even 5,000 years ago, which makes it one of the oldest intellectual games in the world. But it wasn't always as we know it today. The shape and size of the board and the grid changed over the years. There were some experiments with the initial setups of stones, and even the stones themselves, believe it or not, used to be square and made out of wood, until someone decided wood was simply too light. But for the sake of our story, let's skip several thousand years forward to 8th century AD, when the famous Japanese minister Kibi, who spent almost 20 years living in China, finally came back home to Japan. And with him, he brought many of the elements of the Chinese culture: books, manuscripts, inventions, and the game of Go. Historians are not quite sure that this is exactly how it happened, but what's more important is that Go finally found its way into Japan. And Go quickly became very popular, not only with aristocracy but also with common folk, and even the samurai were seen playing it. The first Japanese Go masters appeared, and it was not uncommon at the time for aristocrats to have their personal Go teachers. But let's fast forward some more, because the wheels of Go history started turning very quickly around the 16th century, when the Japanese war commander and politician Toyotomi Hideyoshi decided to hold a big unifying tournament to determine who the strongest player in Japan was. So he called upon all the strong players, and they all played. The winner was a Buddhist monk named Nikai. He was now declared the master, or Meijin in Japanese, and all of the other players now had to take handicap when playing against him. It was also now possible to establish a ranking system according to his strength. Nikai also received a state salary and a very nice plot of land, so he now became a full-time Go teacher and player. It was also around this time that the 4 major Go schools of Japan were founded. The first one was called Honimbo, and there was an unspoken agreement that this school was the more influential and more powerful of them all. Nikai became the leader of the school. The 3 others were Yasui, Hayashi, and Inoue. And all 4 of the schools were located in Edo, which is modern-day Tokyo. As soon as the schools were founded, they started a countrywide search for talented players. And all of this gave birth to a plethora of brilliant players of that time. And all the strongest players received government support. They all had salaries, so they were the true Go professionals. They could dedicate their entire lives to playing, teaching, and studying the game of Go. This government support and competition between the players and the schools led to many advancements in the game theory. A lot of the variations that were developed at that time, 400 years ago, are still widely used today by amateurs and professional players alike. There was another very interesting state position that was established at the time, that of Gorokoro. You could describe him as a Go minister, someone in charge of all of the Go affairs in the country. And the amount of power and control that this person now had was truly unprecedented. He was in charge of playing with the foreign visitors and teaching the emperor himself. He was responsible for organizing the famous castle games to be played in front of the emperor, and he distributed the salaries and scholarships. He also appointed the ranks. So it was the dream of every strong player at the time to achieve this position. Countless tricks and behind-the-curtain manipulations were done in order to obtain it. Needless to say, each and every one of those episodes could serve as a topic for a separate and very interesting lecture, and we'll definitely get back to those in the future. And for now, let's just say that that was truly the golden age of Japanese Go, and it lasted nearly 300 years. But as anything else, it wasn't destined to last forever. It all ended in 1868, when the shogunate fell, and what we know as the Meiji Restoration began. The government simply didn't have time to worry about Go players anymore, so all of the support and the salaries were cancelled in an instant. Go players for the first time now had to struggle to make a living, to survive. Many brilliant Go players at the time died in poverty. It was a dark time for Japanese Go. But there was also something positive in this. For the first time, Japan changed its external policy. It opened its doors to the West. And finally, we learned what kind of country Japan really was. We discovered its traditions, its culture, and the game of Go. Go came to the West, to Europe and the United States, at the beginning of the 20th century. At that time, the strongest Japanese players were still automatically considered the strongest in the world, so naturally it was the players from Japan who brought the game to the West. And they taught the game using Japanese terms, Japanese rules, and Japanese books. And even the name of the game itself, the Western name Go, is a derivative from the Japanese name Igo. And that's how it happened that originally a Chinese game became known as a Japanese game in the West. And as always, go smash that like button, leave comments, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I'll see you guys in the next videos.